All right, welcome back. It's time for this morning's Bull Run where we go over the top stories of the day. Let's get into it. First up, Donald Trump is going on a field trip, and it's not to a rally, a golf course, or a courtroom. It's to the Federal Reserve's $2.5 billion renovation project. That's right. The former president is touring the Mariner S. Eccles building this week, and the timing is anything but subtle. The Fed's marbled headquarters is currently being gutted and rebuilt. The original budget, $1.9 billion. The new total, $2.5 billion and climbing. Apparently, the only thing inflating faster than the money supply in the Fed's is the Fed's construction bill. Trump's joining the tour alongside Office of Management and Budget Director Ross Vaught, Federal Housing Finance boss Bill Pulte, and his Deputy Chief of Staff, because nothing screams economic oversight quite like a group of guys in suits critiquing asbestos removal. The White House says the project may have violated planning requirements, and Trump has made it clear that if he can't fire Jerome Powell, he'll settle for making his life very, very uncomfortable. So now, instead of screaming for rate cuts on Truth Social, Trump is physically walking through the Fed building with a magnifying glass and a grudge. He's already floated the idea that the ballooning renovation costs could be a fireable offense. Although, in typical Trump fashion, he later said he had no plans to actually fire Powell. Why? Because his advisors reminded him that nuking the Fed chair mid-cycle could spark a global economic meltdown. Still, Trump has been relentless. He calls Powell too late and blames him for the economy underperforming and wants rates slashed by 3 full percentage points, which in Fed speak is basically a chainsaw to a balloon animal. Powell, for his part, says the renovation is necessary. The buildings are nearly 100 years old. They're full of lead, asbestos, and HVAC systems that predate color television. He says there's no VIP dining room, no new marble, no secret Fed elevators made of gold. But Republicans have already nicknamed it the Palace of Versailles, because in Washington, optics matter more than ventilation. Powell also said the building changes were scaled back to cut costs, not that it helped at all. Trump and Vaught claim Powell made design changes without proper oversight. Powell replied that the Fed's independent, not bound by those rules, and that the changes weren't substantial. Still, Powell ordered the Inspector General to do a second review, because when the former president / current president is circling your job and your drywall, it's probably best to cover your bases. So what does any of this have to do with Bitcoin, you ask? Well, the answer is everything. This whole saga, political pressure, runaway government spending, debt-financed vanity projects, and zero accountability is the exact kind of fiat circus Bitcoin was built to escape. When the guy who once ran the country and now currently runs it is now physically inspecting drywall to bully the guy who prints the money, you don't need technical analysis to understand why a decentralized, apolitical, hard-cap currency starts to look really appealing, especially when the Fed chair is spending $2.5 billion to fix the walls, but still hasn't fixed the dollar. All right, joining us this morning, one of my favorite people, we got Joe Eppel from Xapo Bank. Joe, welcome back to the show. How are you on this fine Thursday morning?
Hank, great to be back on the show. Thank you so much for having me once again. And I am doing fantastically. Thank you so much for asking. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. I don't have any renovations going on at my home that are being overseen by the former current president. So I think I'm doing okay. Can't be said for some other people. I know, it's the worst. He's just so critical of everything. He says everything I do is the worst. But what are you going to do? All right, Joe, we got a couple stories to go over with you this morning, my man. You cool standing pat? We'll bring you back in just a sec.
Absolutely.
Rock and roll. We'll be back with you in just a minute. But first, you know the macro outlook is bad when even Jim Cramer starts stacking sats. On CNBC, the Mad Money mascot said he's loading up on Bitcoin, and not because of FOMO, but instead because of fear. Specifically, fear of America's $37.8 trillion national debt. Let's take a look at the clip really quick and see what this guy's got to say. He's wild. Bring it up.
I think people want to own some as a hedge against the $8 trillion. They want to own of debt. They want to own it for their kids. And you know who else feels that way? Me. I don't want that debt. My kids. I'm worried about my kids. Worried about your kids? 38 trillion.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
So then
in so many different ways.
Why don't you buy some Bitcoin or buy some Ether?
I think maybe that's the thing to do. How do you buy your Bitcoin, though? Do you buy through an ETF, or do you want to own it directly somehow?
We're allowed to own that.
But then you got to get it air gapped. You can't allow it because people can, somehow can hack you
I like
and steal
Fidelity
it.
as a way, but that doesn't mean there aren't other ways. But I buy it a lot because I'm very worried about the deficit.
And you think that if there were a financial crisis, Bitcoin would hold up?
Yes, I do.
That it is,
yes,
as Michael Saylor says?
You don't think it's a proxy for risk? For risk?
No, I think it's just a nice hedge for what I'm afraid. I mean, I just don't know. Look, I know we can grow our way out of this. My hope is that we do that. But I'm just very worried about my kids. And my kids are like, what are they going to do? You do like a debt refinance? Take down that 11% paper? I mean, what are they going to do? What are they going to do?
What are they going to do? Well, not exactly the cheerleader pitch we're used to, but let's also not forget this is the same Jim Cramer who helped birth the inverse Cramer meme, the guy whose market calls are so consistently off, there's a literal ETF strategy designed to bet against him. Still, it's hard to ignore the symbolism here when the CNBC poster boy for Wall Street says that Bitcoin is the new inheritance plan. You know the fiat narrative is running on fumes. We're bringing back Joe. Joe, Jim Cramer recently said he's buying Bitcoin to hedge against America's $38 trillion in debt. Do you think comments like this help more traditional investors take Bitcoin seriously?
It's a great question. I think it probably does. We know about the inverse Cramer effect, and I think that's largely a Twitter meme at this point. I think the older generation that's sitting at home and still watching CNBC and taking that as their source of financial truth, maybe seeing it being discussed so openly, talking about where do you buy it or how do you get it done. I don't think that's a bad thing for Bitcoin, and let's hope the inverse Cramer finally flippens and we don't end up with a Bitcoin crash in our hands as a result of this clip.
Isn't that the truth? After I saw that clip, my hand has been shaking over the sell button for all my Bitcoin for hours this morning. So I'm really hoping he's not wrong about this one, even though he's seemingly wrong about everything. But every time you see Cramer, he's got something different. He'll probably flip and say Bitcoin is rat poison squared or something next time he's on TV. He's flip-flopping all the time. From your perspective, though, at Xapo, are you seeing more users come in with this same mindset where they're looking at Bitcoin as long-term protection for their family's financial futures going forward?
I mean, at Xapo Bank, being able to protect and secure your wealth is our core mission. It's our core goal. And so when people are coming to Xapo Bank, they're coming there because they want somewhere that they can keep their money safe. And safe means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I think depending on the context that you're from, safe might not necessarily be your local bank, because your local bank is probably keeping your money in a local currency that's devaluing faster than the US dollar. Is at this point. So safe in a traditional financial sense might just be having a USD offshore bank account. What Xapo has done is we've taken all of the best things that you can do to grow your wealth and keep it safe, and we've built it all into one product that almost anyone anywhere in the world can download, become a member, if you pass all of the checks and so on, and have access to Bitcoin-backed lending, your fantastic metal Xapo bank card that you can use anywhere in the world to spend that Bitcoin or to spend your US dollars, interest on those US dollars at a very handsome 3.9%, access to the US stock market. And I know I'm speaking to you, Ang, and you're sitting in San Francisco, and these things all sound like, I can get that from any of my local banks. But most people elsewhere in the world, these are not things that we have easily available. And so to answer your question, I think all of the customers that we have that are coming to Xapo Bank are looking for some form of safety, whether that's safety against their own local fiat currency, global macroeconomic headwinds, or just the safest place that they could possibly be storing that Bitcoin that they have and that they are hopefully also worried about their kids, like our friend Kramer, and using some of our features to help ensure that the wealth that they're building will be easily passed on to their kids who they're worried about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kramer went even as far as calling Bitcoin a hedge against, and I quote, generational ruin. Does that language resonate with the kind of clients you're building products for at Xapo?
So again, I mean, we are building products for users and members and our customers all over the world to keep their money safe. And as I said again, that means a whole bunch of different things, but certainly Xapo offers that safety net, whereby you can get your money to a jurisdiction that is safe, that is secure, that is trusted. And then if you want to, if to you, safety means keeping that money in Bitcoin, which at Xapo, we strongly believe is not a bad option, then you can do it with us. And not only can you do it with us, but we give that same Bitcoin that you're keeping as safe as possible superpowers. We're enabling you to take out a loan against that Bitcoin without selling it, spend it on the card, as I've already mentioned. So for sure, I think as the markets are moving and as we are developing these products, we're starting to see people coming to us for exactly this purpose. That is our core value proposition in many ways.
Yeah, I love to hear it. Everything you guys are doing at Xapo. That's why you're the best in the business, baby. All right, stay put, Joe, because we're going from one public figure talking about Bitcoin to another public figure who is actually building things for Bitcoin, and I want to chat with you about it in just a second, because Jack Dorsey's crypto dream is taking another step toward your local taco stand. Square, the block-owned payment company, is now onboarding merchants to accept Bitcoin directly at the point of sale. That means no Coinbase plugins, no QR code acrobatics, and no hold on, let me open Strike real quick. Just a swipe or a lightning zap and done. Square's rollout allows businesses to receive Bitcoin or instantly convert it to dollars, all using the same hardware they've been using for years. No new gizmos, no hidden fees, no awkward, we don't take that at the register. I hate that one. This comes after months of testing and development. Now, U.S. retailers using Square's system, we're talking over 4 million of them, have a shot at embracing Bitcoin payments. Now, in terms of volume, Square processes over $200 billion a year. So yeah, this is kind of a big deal. As up until now, Bitcoin payments have been mostly confined to edge case scenarios. We're talking Miami coffee shops, El Salvador pupuserias, and Twitter flex posts from people buying Lambos with Bitcoin at 3% APR. But this move actually brings Bitcoin closer to what it was supposed to be, a peer-to-peer digital cash system, not just a savings account with memes. Now, Square's integration uses the Lightning Network, which means faster transactions, lower fees, and far better UX than the old wait 10 minutes and hope the block confirms approach. It also mitigates volatility, giving merchants a choice between holding BTC or converting it instantly. And yes, this is all happening during a monster bull run. Bitcoin is currently trading above 119K with new highs hit earlier in the past couple of weeks thanks to ETF mania and corporate accumulation. So Square's timing, nothing short of impeccable. Dorsey has long preached Bitcoin as the currency of the internet, and this is his way of backing it up with a literal register. For now, this rollout is limited, but it will expand in 2026. Until then, Bitcoin has officially made its way to Main Street. Next stop, your local farmer's market. All right, we're bringing Joe back. Joe, Square now allows merchants to accept Bitcoin directly using the same hardware that they already have. How big of a moment is this for real Bitcoin adoption going forward?
I think it's a fantastic moment because as much as I see Bitcoin as an incredible hedge and an incredible way to protect yourself against the risks we see globally and locally and depending on where you live. Bitcoin was made to be used as a payment system. And I think as long as the utility of Bitcoin isn't expanded and isn't made the kind of thing that anybody can easily go and buy a coffee with without sweating too much about exactly as you said, that 10-minute confirmation fee. Who's got 10 minutes of small talk in them with the coffee shop, with the barista? Very few of us. And as a result, I think these are the kinds of exact little changes that we need to start seeing that mean that everyday usage and expectations of Bitcoin just being a normal part of your day-to-day are actually possible. Another thing I'll add to that, though, is, well, this is an incredible moment for retailers and businesses to be able to accept that Bitcoin. With Xapo Bank, you've been able to spend the Bitcoin that you have in your wallet, in your Xapo account, using our card without any worries whatsoever. You can take your Xapo Bank card, spend $10 worth of Bitcoin to buy that coffee if it's in San Francisco, and be on your way. So big moment, and I really hope we see more of this kind of wide-scale payment acceptance coming soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of reminds me of the credit card adoption cycle, which I think took about 15 or 20 years in and of itself. People were a little wary of swiping plastic and not using checks were the big thing. And of course, cash was around. But this is really solving what seems to be a really big pain point in the crypto, specifically Bitcoin, ecosystem right now. Is it's just not easy, generally speaking, on large scale to buy things peer-to-peer, and an easier user interface that's already built into an app that people are already using at scale. Like you said, it's a big deal. Because while this is kind of simple, built-in Bitcoin payment options could totally finally get people to use Bitcoin for spending and not just saving going forward. Do you think this is kind of beginning to fulfill that promise that, like, Jack Dorsey has always kind of said, like, Bitcoin needs to be something we're actually using day to day. It can't just be a store of value. Do you feel like this is getting us a step in that direction?
Completely. I think if we look at the network effect of an organization as big as Block, and they're enabling payments to be accepted, that's going to mean that Bitcoin is usable in its original intended form as a peer-to-peer digital currency that you can use to do whatever that you need to do. And if that's sending a couple $1 billion around the world for a fraction, for a couple of bucks, or if it's literally spending $1 at a time, that's a really big deal, and that's really important. Anecdotally, so there's a company where I live, which has enabled a similar concept with our local payment providers. And initially, a lot of people were very skeptical, but they now do millions of our local currency and transactional volume every month, which shows that not only is it something that I think fulfills the promise, but it's also fulfilling an actual real user need and want, which is, I have my Bitcoin and I want to be able to spend it as much as I want to be able to store it and use it to build my future generational wealth. So big deal, and I think exciting things to come as a result of it.
Yeah, and from like a product standpoint, what do you think it would take for Bitcoin payments to feel as seamless and trusted as credit cards are for us today? Is that just like a better user interface, or what do you think that next step is so that we can see more broader adoption for Bitcoin as a use of payment?
That's a great question. So, I mean, I think to begin with, as I said previously, with Xapo Bank, you can already spend your Bitcoin like it's a credit card because it's linked to your debit card if you want it to be. And you can simply, cool, I got to pay $100, use my Xapo card. If I had $100 worth of Bitcoin in my account and no US dollars, we'll instantly spend that Bitcoin on your behalf and enable you to take away your $100 item. Besides that, I think what we really want here for for my mom to be able to go down to the store with her credit card and buy a loaf of bread is it to be exactly the same kind of financial experience that we used to, where I can, with Apple Pay, tap my watch, tap my phone, and simply have the money go where it needs to go. And I think integrating it into the existing financial payment infrastructure, which we have all over the world, is doing exactly that, because I don't have to necessarily learn a new model or a new way of doing things. I don't have to open my app and tap, tap, tap and scan a code and do all of these things. I can simply pay the way I'm used to paying. And that, to me, really shows how any digital currency, but Bitcoin in particular, can not only be your day-to-day transactional financial tool, but also your long-term savings and bets on the future. So I think the easier we get, more moves like this, the easier wide scale adoption and maybe the re-entry of the retail market, which we've been lacking in this current bull run, is to come to pass. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like in order for a new payment system to be adopted, it needs to be at least easier to use than the ones that were predating it, right? Like credit card checks were easier to use than cash because nobody wants to carry a ton of cash around. And then credit cards were easier to use than checks because I can just swipe them. So it's like we need that technology to keep up, so it's like as easy as like Apple Pay, because that's probably the easiest thing out there right now. We have our phones on us all the time, so I need to be able to scan my phone and use my Bitcoin quite as easily, and it looks like this payment platform through Square is getting us one step closer to that. So thank you, Jack Dorsey, for putting our money where your mouth is on that one. Another thing was that Lightning Network powers this whole integration. What's your take on Lightning? Are we finally reaching a point where it's actually ready for mainstream use? What do you think?
I think so. So, I mean, our other friend of the show, Anton, he's our product manager looking after all of our payment rails, and he'd be able to talk at length about Xapo's partnership with Lightspark and our integration with the Lightning Network and a bunch of their other projects. But what I can say is I think Lightning is what enables any of this to happen, right? You talked about that 10-minute wait and for the block to confirm if you're lucky. If it's a mempool full kind of day, you could be there for an hour waiting for that transaction to confirm. Layer 2 networks, Lightning in particular, enable lightning speed transactions to occur. And that's really the epitome of ease of use, which is exactly what we were chatting about just now. As much as a check feels redundant in this day and age and in many parts of the world, sitting around waiting for your transaction to clear for 40 minutes feels pretty redundant everywhere. And so without something like Lightning and Lightning being there, it makes that world of actual utility on a day-to-day basis harder to imagine. So to me, it's fantastic, and it's great to see Lightning as the layer that's going to enable this, hopefully, mainstream retail adoption. And it's the same network that's used in all of the products where I've seen that you can spend Bitcoin and where points of sale accept it. It's the Lightning Network that's underlying it, in my personal experience. And of course, Xapo Bank has been integrated with the Lightning Network for many years now.
Yeah. Do you feel like Square's move changes how Bitcoin-focused banks like Xapo think about payments? Like, could we see more integration between savings, custody, and day-to-day spending as a result of this?
I'd like to think so. And I think, look, if you put yourself in the shoes of a Xapo Bank customer, you have your Bitcoin stored as safely as it could possibly be. You have your bank card where you can spend that Bitcoin or US dollars, however you want. Or, a big life event happens, worried about your kids, you got to buy them that Lambo early. And so you take out a Bitcoin-backed loan with Xapo, and you pay for it using the Lightning Network at a point-of-sale machine that's powered by the same software. So you start to see Bitcoin as not only being an alternative financial asset, but actually as potentially being a primary financial asset that forms the bedrock of all of your day-to-day transactions and kind of long-term financial goals at the same time. Now, I'm not saying that'll definitely happen, and definitely never financial advice from me. I'm just Joe. But that's definitely a future that I personally would like to see and live in.
Me too, brother. I can't wait. Speaking of the future, we're going to take a quick break, but when we're back, we had 11 AI models predict the future of money, and you will never guess what they said. We'll be back to talk about it with Joe right after this break. Stay tuned.
Security matters. Xapo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at xapobank.com.
All right, welcome back. It's time for a little AIO. Let's see what our robot overlords are up to now. Because if they take over, they're probably taking Bitcoin with them. A group of tech degenerates recently ran a little thought experiment. They asked 11 of the top AI models on the planet what money will look like in the year 2225. Not maybe, not a few options. No, each model had to pick one and only one monetary system to rule them all. And it turns out artificial intelligence is surprisingly bullish. ChatGPT 4o picked Bitcoin, Claude picked Bitcoin, and Grok picked Bitcoin. Even the AI models built by companies that actively hate Bitcoin picked Bitcoin. Claude said BTC has the strongest foundation for long-term survival. Decentralized, scarce, upgradable, immune to politicians trying to fix things. And fiat currency, according to Claude, has a 35 to 40-year lifespan. So good luck making it to 200. ChatGPT 03 called Bitcoin's borderless, immutable ledger the best bet to outlast not just fiat, but anything yet to be invented. Grok, Elon's AI child, also said Bitcoin. Quen 3 coder, Bitcoin again. The common theme is that Bitcoin's decentralized nature, its fixed supply, and its absolute refusal to play by anyone's rules make it apparently the cockroach of money. But not all the bots agreed. Pi AI and Mistral's LeChat got a little philosophical, if you will. They floated ideas like CBDCs or some sort of digital currency. They mentioned security, efficiency, environmental concerns, globalization. You know, the things that sound good in a keynote speech but usually mean surveillance money that you can't turn off. Venice AI and Gemini 2.5 Flash argued for a future with multiple CBDCs stitched together in a global web of interoperability. But nothing screams freedom quite like 200 years of central banks playing nice with each other. DeepSeek went full Blade Runner. It predicted a global resource-backed currency governed by a decentralized AI network. Why? Because fiat is unstable. Bitcoin apparently is too volatile, and gold is for boomers. According to DeepSeek, we'll all be paid in energy credits managed by our robot overlords. So if your paycheck comes in kilowatt hours, now you know why. Copilot went full cypherpunk, predicting a quantum-secure, decentralized digital currency, likely a descendant of Bitcoin, built for an AI-powered, programmable finance future. And then ChatGPT 4o, they brought it on home. Even in a world of smart contracts, quantum chips, and AI-run economies, Bitcoin still emerged as the winner. Because when you zoom out 200 years, you want money that doesn't need permission, doesn't change the rules, and doesn't care about your government. Out of 11 AI models, most of them chose Bitcoin. The rest just proved why we need it. We're bringing back Joe to talk about this. Joe, 11 AI models were asked what money will look like in 200 years. Most picked Bitcoin. Do you think that's a meaningful insight or just a fun experiment with our robot friends?
It's certainly a fun experiment. Whether it's a meaningful insight or not is anyone's guess until we get to live for the next 200 years and see. But to be honest, I think what the analysis does point out is some of the things that we've all been saying in the Bitcoin community, at least for a very long time, which is the inherent flaws of the system we currently have. So I think at the very least, it's a reinforcement of what seems like common knowledge in this industry. And Bitcoin currently also is the only solution that we currently have to that in a way that is still practical and feasible and has utility. So they might be onto something, these AI guys. Maybe we should listen.
I think so too. I mean, to your point, the AI models pointed to Bitcoin's decentralization, its scarcity, and security as reasons that it would in fact last 200 years. Do those same traits shape how you build Bitcoin products over at Xapo?
Absolutely. So, I mean, we're building products for the financial future using the future of finance in and certainly from my perspective. And that means we need to think of ways that we can leverage this technology and leverage this asset on behalf of our users and our members and our customers all over the world to make the most that they possibly could. And for sure, security is at the core of everything that we do. The Fort Knox of Bitcoin, as we've been referred to in the past, our underground nuclear bunkers in Switzerland and other undisclosed locations forming part of our cold storage. security is fundamental, and it's a core problem that all Bitcoiners have. I found the quantum linked currency from, I think it was Copilot, to be an interesting one. We know what they're up to over at Microsoft, I guess, at this point. But for sure, at Xapo, security has always been at the core of what we do, as well as Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think that we will start to see AI influence how people invest, store, and move money in the next couple of years? And if so, how do you think Bitcoin fits into that future?
That's a great question, and I think absolutely. I mean, I think people are starting to use AI for everything. I'm having conversations with family members that were skeptical about Bitcoin, but they're prepared to take an answer off of whatever latest model is running on their Google search to make life decisions about health and all sorts of things. So if people are using Gemini or whatever it is that they're not even aware that they're using, financial decisions are surely already probably involving that AI input and that AI guidance. Given this little survey, which I think is fun and a great thought experiment, but given that our friends over at the AI Overlord department that are obviously working with all of these models are saying themselves that Bitcoin is the answer that people are looking to in terms of something that's still going to be around 200 years from now, I would hope that what that means is our AI friends pointing users in the direction of Bitcoin as an individual.
Yeah. At Xapo, do you guys utilize AI currently with your processes and procedures of helping and building products for Bitcoin for your customers? Or is that not part of the game plan just yet?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can share that we do use the a couple of AI tools. I won't name them specifically as part of internal processes and kind of a couple of our different departmental functions. But I think AI is here to stay, right? It's not a passing fad. It's not a thing that's going to disappear overnight. And anybody who isn't kind of increasing their own productivity by using the tools that we have available to us is possibly missing on a trend, just like those same people who aren't, jumping on the Satoshi train. So hopefully we all play catch up and make it to the future.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. It's one of those things. It's like either learn to embrace it or be prepared to be left behind. And that goes with AI or Bitcoin right now. So I'm glad to hear you guys have your feet in both of those pools. Let's zoom out really quick here. Do you personally think that Bitcoin has what it takes to still be around 200 years from now? And if so, what does a Bitcoin bank look like that far down the line?
Oh, man. 200 years into the future. I wish I could see, for my own personal sake, like 200 days into the future. But from a financial perspective, what does it mean for something to actually be able to survive for that long? In my mind, for anything to exist for that period of time, it needs to be something that is not only inherently, foundationally, technically very strong, but also something that is open enough to change as the environment around it changes. And Bitcoin is still open source. It's still being developed. It's still a product that a feature, a piece of software, a concept that if the community comes together with strong enough conviction that a new direction needs to be taken, that can happen. We saw that with Bitcoin Cash and with the old SegWit debate of 2016, 17, whenever that happened. And we could see it in the future if Bitcoin needs to evolve in a certain way in order to respond to a new technological or macroeconomic challenge. So I think just because Bitcoin is able to do that, I know it's not the only thing in the world or the only currency in the world that can do that, but because of where it is today and where we potentially see it going, and the fact that it is a currency and a technology that can adapt to the environment, I think it's certainly what I would put my money on. What does it look like 200 years in the future to be a Bitcoin bank? Oh, man. I wish I had an answer to that question, but I think certainly you need a team and a group of people and a product that is able to evolve and meet the possibilities of that future, something that we envision Bitcoin will be able to do. But man, I hope it's like got a lot of really cool techno kinds of vibes and like lots of neon flashing lights. If I think of the future, I go there immediately, and I imagine it can't be too different from the banking perspective.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, obviously, with this tech that is Bitcoin, you need a bank that's going to evolve with it and offer products as the landscape changes, very much like what you guys do at Xapo right now. So if I had to put my money on one bank to be the Bitcoin bank of the future, I think it'd be you guys over there. And we better be in line for some kind of Jetsons type situation. I thought we'd already have flying cars by now. I think the Jetsons are actually
That's
set
what
in
I'm
like the
alluding
2030s.
to. That's what I'm hoping for. Exactly that, man. Like, where are my flying shoes? So I'm hoping the bank of the future includes that at least.
Yeah, I think so too. And by that time, I think your being and your essence and all of ours will be encapsulated in little like pills we can just put into robots. So I'm looking forward to you and I in robot form having this same conversation 2 years from now about the next
I'll put a
200
reminder
years
in.
of Bitcoin dominance. Yeah, put a reminder in your calendar that'll be transferred into the robot with your essence of your being. Joe, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time today. Before we let you go, I'm sure a lot of people in our audience are like, hey, this Xapo, if it's going to be around for 200 years, I better get some more info on it. What's the best place for me to send them so they can learn more about Xapo, you, and all the amazing things you guys are doing over there?
It's an amazing point, Hank. They can go to xapobank.com. It's our website. From there, you can read all about our products. I'll say that again. xapobank.com, XAPO, because we offer a huge amount, I think a lot more than everybody necessarily immediately realizes, and you can read all about all of our incredible Bitcoin-backed products there. And feel free to hit us up on LinkedIn or Twitter or any platform where you see our Xapo Bank officials accounts, and always more than happy to answer any questions you have. We have an incredible team of relationship managers and account managers who will be there to support you through anything that you need.
Love to hear it. Joe, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us, and we can't wait to have you back again.
Thanks so much, Hank. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Joe, he's just the best, isn't he? He's the best. Everybody says so. Speaking of things everybody says, President Donald Trump is telling everyone that he doesn't like the name artificial intelligence, not because of the policy implications or because of the existential risks. No, he's not concerned about those. In fact, he just doesn't like the word artificial. At an AI summit on Wednesday, Trump told a crowd of tech moguls, "Artificial? I can't stand it. I don't even like the name." And then he asked if they could straighten that out. His suggestion, rename it to genius intelligence, because obviously that is much less terrifying. Trump explained that I don't like the name artificial anything because it's not artificial, it's genius. Per genius, pure genius. So there you have it. GPT is now GI. This renaming campaign came right after the White House dropped its new AI action plan. Among the highlights are streamlining regulations and permits so companies can rapidly build data centers and power sources, pushing U.S. AI models into foreign markets to ensure dominance, and a new loyalty test. The federal government will now only work with AI companies whose models are free from top-down ideological bias. Or in other words, if your chatbot leans left, no government contracts for you. Trump also nuked Biden's executive order that favored companies with DEI programs and climate goals. We're getting rid of woke, Trump said. It's so uncool to be woke. He railed against partisan bias and critical race theory, calling the latter ridiculous. And he warned that woke AI models won't be tolerated in the US or anywhere else. We will only work with AI that works with the truth, he declared. And Trump also admitted AI is risky, but he insisted the US must win the race against China. He signed 2 executive orders on the spot and made sure to point out that he wasn't using an auto pen because obviously that matters. Good luck, he told the tech execs as he wrapped up. The race has just begun. And apparently the rebranding has too. Welcome to the era of genius intelligence because artificial didn't test well in the focus group. All right, we're taking a quick break. When we're back, we got Blockchain Without Borders and our special guest interview of the day. Stay tuned. All that and more coming up on the Blockchain Report.